You're watching the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast with Matt and Rich. Welcome back to episode 23 of the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast. I am here with Matt and I am Rich. On today's episode, we are continuing the dog days of summer, as we might put it, and got very, very small things to talk about and whatnot. Why don't we just hop right into some of your off-ice antics, if you may say? What have you been up to this week?
Well, I don't cope well, so I adopted a puppy. Because the house doesn't feel right without 3 dogs, so one sleepless night was enough for me, so now I got this little... She was supposed to be a timid little girl, and then within like a day of being here, she's already livening up. So I think they lied, or they just don't have very good personalities over there.
I heard about that, and I do want to send my condolences. I'm very sorry to hear about that. I also have a dog that is 14 years old, and I worry about her. So I completely understand that, and I hope you can cope through it well enough, because it's always rough losing a doggy.
Yeah, especially when it's kind of your own fault, so. Anyway, what have you been up to for the last week?
I haven't been doing much. I've just been working my butt off, but I did get to watch Nope finally. So
What'd you think?
I thought it was really good, actually. Nope is a movie by, oh my goodness, I always forget which one it is. There's Key and Peele. Jordan Peele. Okay.
Jordan Peele.
I was like, I always forget which one it is, damn it. Jordan Peele, he has 2 previous movies. I really, really like his horror kind of vibes. Like, it's not just like jump scare. It's like creepy, twitch down the back of your neck horror. And I really liked it. I thought it was really good. Real creepy, that's for sure. But overall, I thought it was a good movie. What else have I done? I'm looking into getting into FPV drones. That's another one. So I've already been a drone pilot for a year and a half? Year? I don't remember. It's been over a year, I know that at least. But I'm looking into finally flying some FPV drones, which FPV drones, if you don't know what they are, you put goggles over your eyes, and it's a screen, kind of like a VR headset, and it allows you to have an onboard camera, and you can fly around with the drone, and you have like perfect vision over the front of your eyes, seeing exactly what it sees. So we'll see how that goes. I got to get a ham amateur radio license to fly it properly. I mean, you can do it without it, but I do everything by the book since I get paid for my work. So running through that test.
You gotta have a license to do everything nowadays.
Oh yeah, I could get into all the drone talks. There's some big stuff that happened in the drone world. Essentially, we'll get into the legislative part of this real quick. The big money businesses are sticking their fingers in the amateur drone hobbyist section, and people are very upset about it. Effectively, every drone they want to have what's called a remote ID on board, where you can like walk up to it, and if you're a police officer or a Karen, you can, oh hey, I see a drone in the sky. Whose is that? Oh, it's, XYZ model number, blah, blah, blah. Here's their coordinates. Like, yeah, they're the Amazons and the Walmarts are trying to push hard for this because they are heavily pushing for a essentially commercial drone zone in the altitude for all the Amazon drones and things like that. Like, they want that. There's like a specific part. I think it's between 400 feet and 500 feet. So it's a whole lot of drama in the drone community. But aside from boring everybody with that, I'm going to bore you even further. I'm going to beg a little bit for some likes, some follows, some subscriptions on all of your platforming needs and whatnot. Yeah, if you could help us out by give us a like, a follow, whatever, it would really benefit us. It goes a long ways, and leave a comment, say hi. We always love the comments. But aside from the little begging section, let's talk a little bit about some hockey news. I actually have one that's a little bit bigger. I know not a lot of everybody plays video games, but pretty unprecedented thing happened with the cover of the new NHL 23. We have two athletes that are on the cover. We had the rookie sensation out of Anaheim, Trevor Zegras, as the male athlete for the cover, and we actually have our very first female athlete, and that is, oh my goodness, I forgot her name. Her first name. It's Nurse. Sarah Nurse. Okay, I want to make sure.
The two nurses.
She is related to Darnell Nurse. Yeah. That's
what I heard. So like my
okay.
wife was like, "Oh, she's the better of the two nurses." So I'm like, I'll go with it because I mean, there's that meme where it's like Darnell Nurse, what is it, had a worse GM. It's why he got a better contract.
I mean, I'm just saying that contract is already not looking so great. But
best of luck to you, by the way. Just couple little jabs.
But I believe she's a 3-time. Was it medalist? I think she was a 3-time medalist for. Oh goodness, it was at the Olympics, but very well touted. Has a lot of medals. Absolutely worth putting onto a cover, and I'm glad to see it. I think basketball has started doing that. Have they? Where they put
this year,
WNBA.
Both Devin Booker and Diana Taurasi are going to be on like the cover, so they have like the WNBA edition.
Mm-hmm.
I had never seen like the WNBA specific covers before. I don't know if they just came to my attention because they were promoting it a little more with Devin Booker being on the cover this year.
Mm-hmm.
But they've had like women in. I think the first game was like NBA Live 18, the EA Sports one, but 2K has had it in there for the last handful of years. So we're just more of the sports or at least the video games are putting in the women's leagues and actually giving people a little more options. So at the very least, you're getting more content for your money, because I kind of feel like this generation specifically kind of ruined content in sports games.
Yeah. Well, the microtransactions don't help. That's for sure.
They should just be free. Screw it. With how much money they're making on microtransactions, NHL, 2K, all Madden, free, baby. Free 99.
Yeah, the games themselves, that would be interesting. I don't know how I feel about that, but that would be interesting. Yeah, I don't think there's really too much else to talk about it. Just interesting little bit of news. I'm glad to see that there's more female inclusionariness to our sport that we love, and I hope to continue to see it. I think that's it.
You know what? How about this? How about I'll take over right now, because I finally got a little bit of fire in me. I want to talk about Philip Joseph Kessel. I want to talk about this absolute just D-bag level like comments out of him, and You know what? Let me just go ahead and just let loose for a minute. So he's sitting there crying the entire time. Oh, I came to Arizona to win, and we didn't do that. I said we were going to be competitive. First and foremost, I watched you that entire first season. 14 goals, by the way. You looked terrible throughout half of it. You were clearly playing injured, and you were just playing on the fourth line because you needed to make sure your Iron Man streak was still alive. You had to make sure that stupid Iron Man streak kept going at the complete detriment of this team. Literally one of the contributing factors of them not making the playoffs, like throughout his tenure, because the season, not last year, year before, we weren't supposed to be all that good anyway. But still, he has one good year that year. Didn't end up being much of the team guy. That's his 120 goal year, because you can't forget about good old Phil Joe. Phil Joe's got to make sure you keep his name in your head, even though he's not actually helping the team, bastard. And then just. The comments about just all of the crying, all of the I came here to win. You didn't help win. Just flat out, you didn't. Oh, you kind of get forgotten about here in Arizona. You did nothing your entire tenure here, and the only thing, like, whenever you see the Coyotes represented on like NHL.com for any sort of like marketing pushes, it's Phil Kessel. You didn't even see the captain OEL, which, granted, there weren't very many highlights at the very end of his Coyotes tenure, but at the same time, newbie didn't really do anything with the team except for 120-goal season. Big whoop. You're the only person that gets mentioned. You're the big jersey that's featured on the website. You're literally, what do you mean you get forgotten about in Arizona? You got forgotten about because you suck. Oh, he was great passing this year. Sure, he was. He had 8 goals. Great. Philip Joseph Kessel, Mr. I Want to Win. 8 whole goals. Shut up. Like, just straight up. That kind of just boiled my blood, like, seeing his smug little comments. Like, bro, go to Vegas and then watch either them find a way to trade you or screw you over because they're a terrible organization, or because all they can do is hurt their players, get hurt, and watch your Iron Man streak either way. The Iron Man streak end either way. Bye.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to happen, but I would love to see the Vegas money line in all those casinos on whether Kessel's Iron Man streak continues or not, because I would be putting money on that. I have a sneaking suspicion that either he's going to get injured or he's going to get healthy scratched, and it'll be hilarious because that'll end, and then they also won't make the playoffs because that team is aging like sour milk.
Literally, like, who is their youngest, like bankable player? Because Jack Eichel probably sounds like he's 30 because how long we've been used to hearing about him. But he's only, like, what, 24, 25? He's still in his 20s. But yeah. Everyone else, Mark Stone, damn near 30 at this point, if not passing that threshold. I think Shea Theodore passed 30 a year ago. Marchessault, my favorite player on the team. Great guy, great player. His best hockey's behind him. Riley Smith, wrong side of 30s. They got rid of Pacioretty because the only way they can win a trade is that they literally pay someone to trade away a player, and then that player literally, like, dies in training camp. Like, oh God, my knee is now it doesn't exist anymore. I'm gonna be out for a year. So the only way Vegas can win a trade, which I find kind of funny, but it's screw 'em.
Well, they spent a bunch of money, or not a bunch of money, they spent a bunch of assets on making sure that they could pick up the consistently injured Nolan Patrick, and he, I believe, is the youngest player on that team at 23.
That's a joke. It's literally Vegas went from like a lovable underdog that if they would have just stayed the course. I don't mind getting Patches and Stone. I don't mind trying to add. But when you're realizing you're losing a little bit too much depth, you just, okay, we still have good young assets. Go ahead and keep building. They went from a team that should have been a cup contender for a decade to how did this laughing stock, like how do you blow it? Vegas is literally that dude that wins $21 million in the lottery, never had money in his life, and then he's right back to living in his trailer in a year. I forget which YouTube video I was watching. I stole that. That's a stolen bit from a YouTube video. I forget who it was. But still, he's literally that guy.
Yeah.
This franchise is literally that guy, and it's like, I don't understand it, but whatever.
Yep. I don't know. I don't know. Bump. Copyright strike. But yeah, that one dumbfounds me, and I really hope that they miss the playoffs because that would be hilarious at the very least.
It
Because
really would.
just insulting a team on the way out is just so stupid, especially when the team literally paid you for 30 seconds so that you could fly back to be a part of your child being born, all because of your stupid streak. Like, yeah, I think you best summed it up. Like, right, he cares more about his Iron Man streak than he does the team. And he did all 3 years that he was here. And, yeah, his warm welcome wore out pretty quickly in Arizona. And, I don't know how to feel about it. Is it that he's a bad player? Or is it that...
No, he's a good player. Like in terms of an actual standard of hockey player, by definition, he would be a good hockey player. I want to... The only reason I jumped in there is because I also wanted to make sure to, like, specify that. Because, like, it's not like, oh, Kessel sucks now because he trash talked. It's just you were never good enough for your cap hit or to add value to the team. Because when we went to the playoffs, he had, what, 1 goal? That entire little playoff run? He didn't do anything. He wasn't out there. He didn't exist.
In 9 games, he had 1 goal and 4 assists. Or, sorry, 3 assists and 4 points.
So, dude didn't do anything. Like, you're bringing Phil Kessel in to be your 20 to 30 goal scoring guy that's going to be about a point per game. I don't mind if it takes a bit of a hit coming to Arizona because the system's different. I also have defended plenty of the offense from the terrible Rick Tocchet coaching. I stand by that. It's all factors to consider. But the fact that he didn't actually meaningfully add to the offense literally the entire time he was here, except for one shortened season where he just happened to score. Remember, it's that first season, he scored 14 goals. That's an anomaly. The next year comes out and scores 20. Well, this year he scored 8. It's not an anomaly. It's just Phil Kessel doesn't try. And if he doesn't have someone elite on his wing or an elite center to set him up, what is he going to do? This year he adapted, and obviously there had to be some leadership there involved. I'm still giving credit despite the fact that there's a lot of bad blood right now, just from my perspective. But just to give that objective, attempt, it's just he adapted. Good setup guy. Then you decide to flip everyone off on your way out. Is this why you're seen as a locker room cancer? Is this why just about every fan, even the ones that liked you, like in Pittsburgh, are like, oh yeah, it's good that he's gone, like at the end of the day? Is that why every single place he leaves ends up being happy he's gone? Is it just because he's a jackass?
I guess. I don't know. I'm assuming the reason why he's making those remarks is because he didn't get traded at the deadline or at any time before then. But the problem is that if nobody wants you because of your Iron Man streak that you value more than the team, that's what's gonna happen. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And as for like the remarks of like he needs an elite center, I don't even know if I believe that. Like, when you look at how bad those Toronto teams were before he got traded to Pittsburgh, like, they were bad. They were really bad, and there was like nobody on those teams aside from like I think Van Riemsdyk, and he still was putting up 60 points on a bad team. Like, the worst team that there was the 14-15 team. I pulled up the stats. He was a minus 34, but he still had 61 points, 25 goals, 36 assists in obviously 82 games because he has an Iron Man streak. Yeah, I mean, if we would have gotten that effort, even one of the seasons, that would have been good. But we never got that effort. We got the most recent effort, which was 44 assists, but, great, you got 44 assists. We brought you in to score goals. This team couldn't score goals.
I mean, he did score 20 in the shortened season, but the problem was, how many of those were garbage time? How many of those were goals later on in games where they were already out of it? Like, weren't also a handful of them empty net goals? It's like, yeah, he scored 20. Yeah, he was on pace for, I think it was regular season, it would have been just shy of 30. what was his pace that season, which is still good, but that's really good. But the problem was, like, he never actually elevated the guys around him, which you kind of, that's what you bring Kessel in for. And then on top of that, another thing that really just ticks me off is that after that first year, when they get bounced in the first round, they get essentially swept, but they did steal one game. Darcy Kemper still one game from Colorado, but apparently he put in a trade request immediately, like after, like in that off season, like it was before training camp. And so he had a active trade request for 2 years, and because he wasn't good enough to have any sort of value because of how bad that contract was, we couldn't move him.
Mm-hmm.
So then he decided to just kind of pout it out. It's like, yeah, sure. Was he, for some of the younger guys or the guys that are friends with him, was he probably good in the locker room? Sure. But when you start flipping the bird on your way out, it's like dirtbag. Like, no, just kick rocks, dude. Seriously.
Yep. I don't get it, man. I just don't. Like, I get that the team wasn't successful, but you literally refused to go anywhere else besides from here because we had Rick Tocchet, and then didn't produce that first year that you came here when you had Taylor Hall to play with. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Don't know. But, what else do we have to talk about?
Oh, we have to talk about the Northern Arizona Gila Monsters.
Northern Arizona Gila Monsters. I don't know what you're
They
talking
don't
about.
exist yet. They don't exist
Oh,
yet.
I know what you're talking about.
So it was announced last week, or technically, yeah, last week, because Sunday is technically a new day, or a new week. Still, last week it was announced that the Atlanta Gladiators are now the ECHL affiliate for the Arizona Coyotes, and I do not know where the rumblings are coming from, but when I was on the Locked On Yotes podcast, they were mentioning how apparently they want to get an ECHL team back in Arizona. Look, I love the Roadrunners. I have the jersey over there. It's not hanging up back there because I swapped it up for a little bit, but I love everything that jersey, the team colors, what the team stood for. They were trash. They were never going to win, and they couldn't even get decent attendance like in downtown Phoenix. Now, putting it like reprioritizing to a smaller market with minor league teams does make sense. Where it's like, hey, if you put like the Arizona Sundogs, from what I could tell, were relatively successful for playing up there in Prescott Valley, and they do still. They have an IFL team up there. Not like they have 40 other events throughout the year. So I'm just saying, since some of the Atlanta Thrashers fans, despite losing 2 NHL teams, want to talk trash, maybe hockey just doesn't belong there. And maybe with this new partnership, maybe they end up getting acquired and shipped off to Prescott Valley, where they can be the Northern Arizona Gila Monsters. I want the javelinas because it'd be funnier, because you give a javelina a javelin, it's the amount of people that will say like the javelinas or something. It'll at least kind of make sense, because for some reason with anything in Arizona, people can't say it right, like Gila River Arena or Tempe, but whatever.
Yeah. I know.
Seriously, there's no AY at the end. Where are you getting Tempe? Like it's not, doesn't even make like sense when you sound it out. There's not a context where it makes. Why is it Tempe?
I don't know. Yeah, those ones always bug me. Like, I get Gila Monster because the G, you think it's Gila, but then like nobody's ever pronounced it that way. It's never. I need to sneeze. Oh my goodness.
Well, he's gonna sneeze. I'm just gonna fill air for a couple of seconds and say, yeah, it's weird.
False alarm.
I don't know if it's just because growing up in Arizona, it's a very heavily Hispanic population, and I grew up in a trailer over in Phoenix, so
yeah.
I was one of 3 white kids in my entire trailer park. I don't know if it's just because of my specific circumstance or just because I live here. It's pretty common for a lot of things be heavily influenced or named after, or they came from Spanish or any other
native
indigenous tribes that were here. So it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. You hear the locals say it, you should be able to figure it out pretty quickly. It's like calling the Kachina Kachana or something, right? learn how to say it. It's not hard.
Please tell me no one actually said that. Please, I'm
I
begging
know.
you,
I
tell
just
me
made
no one
that.
said
I
that.
just
Okay.
made that up.
Okay.
You know.
uh,
But yeah. It's just really dumb to me that people continue to mess all that up. It's so easy. It's yeah. I don't know. It's not like Pedersen, you know, where it's just like a certain pronunciation away. It's very obvious. Lego Rocks, if you watch him on YouTube, does that with Chikrin because he's always firing up that rumor mill. He calls him Chitrin, and I'm like, bro. His dad played in the NHL.
But at least that's like, at least it's spelled that way. So at least like you can kind of, like, I'm still stuck on tempeh. I'm still like it almost makes sense for Chicharin. But anyway, so getting away from the memes and then the weird side tangent that went on. What do you think about the new ECHL partnership? Because
right.
of course you had the Coyotes would be the only professional team where their ECHL team has more fans in the building.
I mean, I don't really know and care all that much about the ECHL, so it is what it is. As for call-ups, I think that's going to be a bit of a pain in the ass. Like, their ECHL is in Atlanta. I guess their other ECHL was pretty far away too. But you know, that's a long flight from ECHL to AHL in Tucson. So
that's why you move them to Prescott Valley. So you're just, I think it'd be 4 hours or 4.5 hours. You have to go through Phoenix and then go down to Tucson. But I'm just saying, if you move them up north, if you acquire them and move them up north. I'm just saying, it would be funny. Also, I'm keeping that Thrashers jersey that the Gladiators have. Like that gets to stay with us on like Sundays. We're wearing it. I've EO'd it. I've already laid my claim to that. But I just think it would be funny. Give me the Javelinas.
The Javelinas. I do have another thing to talk about, which happened this week. We saw a fellow classmate in Filip Zadina getting signed to a 3-year contract. He was holding out, similar to what Barrett Hayton is currently going through with the Coyotes. Filip Zadina, who has not found success like he claimed he would back in the draft yet in the NHL. I believe his quote when he was passed over was, "I'm going to fill your nets with pucks," and has not done so. But he received a 3-year contract for $1.825 million, so about $2 million. I expect Barrett Hayton to be around this mark. I do think Barrett Hayton has had a little bit more success than Zadina in the NHL, but I cannot remember. Maybe not. I don't know. Zadina,
let's just say 2 years, $2 million. Well, that's probably what it's going to be. I think we've predicted this contract 4 times, and there's still literally no rumors about it. There's no buzz. I would not be surprised at this point, like, because everything gets out eventually. There is always like, hey, no, this guy still hasn't signed. Hey, we're hearing this guy might want to look at his options here. We've heard literally nothing about Barrett Hayton all summer, all off season, and I'm like, I think we've predicted the contract 2 or 3 times because it's like we're just kind of waiting, and I would not be surprised at this point if there is literally like the Connor Garland situation, except for like instead of it being because they're working out a trade, it's just they forgot Hayton was on the roster.
Yeah,
like, they forgot they had his rights, so it's just like Hayton's too embarrassed to call. Bill Armstrong doesn't know.
Just waiting for his fax machine to start up. I looked up some numbers here. So in the previous seasons, Zadina does have more games played and more points, but that also is because Hayton was injured and never could find a solid ground. But in a pretty large stint last year, They both had a large stint, and funny enough, they both have the exact same goals, assists, and points, which is 24 points, 14 assists, 10 goals. But Barrett Hayton did it in 14 less games. So Zadina did it in 74 games, and Hayton did it in 60. Once again, continuing to, I believe, did he get injured this season?
I thought he got injured earlier on because he was playing in Tucson, and then I just noticed he wasn't on the roster in Tucson.
Yeah.
Or missed some time. And if it was a personal thing, even though it's not our business, that also always ends up getting out. There's always like it's for personal reasons he's gone. So I think he did, and then I also think he missed a couple of games when he came back up, didn't he? Because there was a handful of games, or it might have just been healthy scratches for a handful of games. But
yeah, I can't remember. I hope it was not injury because he's looked good in his respected leagues, but he has not been able to stay healthy. I still remember there was that 2019-20 season at the World Junior Under 20s where he was the captain, and he had that game-tying goal against Russia, and he scored that on, what was it, a separated shoulder that he was playing through or something like that, right? So, he has that wow factor. He just hasn't been able to put that on the Coyotes yet.
I'm just saying, good young player. I'm still going to stick with my projections of a third-line center, which I think is fine. Not for 5th overall, God no, but at the same time, it's one of those things where just because you drafted someone at a certain spot doesn't mean you should be thick-headed and be like, oh, I'm just gonna, keep putting on the first or second line, or my expectations are only going to be that and nothing else. It's like he would still be technically a draft bust, but it would be like I'll take someone who was a bust because they were taken too high, as opposed to someone who was a bust because they sucked. So as long as he keeps playing well,
there's
just give him that contract.
I don't know if you were at that 2018 draft party. No, you weren't. I don't think we went to that. But it's crazy how much I've called good players. So when the Coyotes were drafted 5th overall, I actually called them to draft Quinn Hughes. And
Quintinius?
my wife can back me up on this. I told them to draft him because I was like, I really do believe that this kid's going to be a good defenseman. And I was right. I said he was either Brady Tkachuk or Quinn Hughes, but I didn't expect Brady Tkachuk to be there at 5, and also was right. So I don't know, man. When you look back at that 2018 draft, it was a rough draft. There was not very many superstar talents coming out of that draft.
I just feel like if he just quickly is 2018, he was drafted 5th overall, right? Can you just read off the next 5 selections, just so
Yes.
I can wallow in some more depression as an Arizona sports fan?
Yes. Okay, so sorry, I'm pulling up a different page that has numbers on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just gonna go back. Okay.
Back.
So number 5 was Barrett Hayton. I'll go to 10. 6 was Zadina. 7 was Quinn Hughes. 8 was Adam Boquist. I've heard it pronounced so many different ways. I'm just gonna say Boquist. Number 9 was Vitaly Kravtsov. Number 10 is Evan Bouchard. I lied. I'm gonna keep going. Number 11 was Oliver Wahlstrom. 12 was Noah Dobson. Oh my goodness, I don't even know how to say that. Number 13 was Ty Dellandrea. Number 14 was Joe Farabee, and number 15 was Gregory Denisenko.
I already agree. Pretty base. They should have just taken Quintinius Hughes. I understand we need a center. I understand that was a huge need, but also every single time I either listen to people that know better than me, or talk to people that are more educated than me on these matters. It's you take the best player available, and then it's like, hey, let's say we take Hughes. let's just pretend we didn't need him. All right, let's just pretend the defense was just fine. He didn't fit in, but he was a great extra talent. You can use that in a trade to get a center if that's what you need later. So that's why you always get best available, because you can always maximize like the value for it.
Yeah.
But who was it 9 or 10? Can you read those two off again? There's one other name that stuck out to me.
Number 9 was Vitaly Kravtsov, and number 10 was the big-bodied defenseman Evan Bouchard.
All right, Bouchard, I like him. I don't know if I would have taken him 5th, but
Well,
Kravtsov, that's the kid that went to the Rangers, right?
Yeah, you ready for this? Bouchard, in 102 games, 49 points. Barrett Hayton in 94 games, 31 points. Bouchard has about the same points per game as Barrett Hayton, and he's a defenseman.
And he also got taken 5 slots later. But with Kravtsov, I know it was one of the mock trades. Like, did you just knock my controllers? Thank you, dog. She just literally yeeted them, just kicked them all off the couch. Anyway, but Kravtsov, that was one of the mock trades I got sent over. And the thing is, I like a lot of what that kid offers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot like Lafreniere with the Rangers. The team, like specifically the top 6, is simply too good that you weren't going to put Kravtsov or Lafreniere up there. So I think Laffy was playing 4th line his first year. I think 3rd line last year. I think he moved up a little bit more last year, but it's like that can also kind of hinder some progress. I'm like, with the Coyotes' middle 6 being wide open objectively, the only reason I say middle 6 because that first line's kind of locked up right now. I would have loved to have a guy like Kravtsov in the system, or at least give it a shot for the year, because why not? They end up re-signing with the Rangers, but there's a couple of names right there that immediately shoot out to me. I don't know what dance partner you're looking with or you're looking at, but maybe if they ended up swapping, to trade down to like 7, get like an extra 2nd or 3rd or whatever gets offered, and then you take Kravtsov. I'm just saying I don't think I'd be particularly against that.
Yeah, it's just, the hindsight is 2020, right? So, yeah, when you go back and look at the 2018 draft, if you go into like elite prospects, it shows you all the points next to the players so far. It is barren. Hayton.
Got him.
But you want to talk about freaking asset management here? 5th round, 2018 draft. 5th round, Igor Sharangovich for the New Jersey Devils. 130 games played, 76 points.
It's not bad.
That is some asset management right there. But yeah.
The fact that he's produced, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but just like from what I remember the number you gave for Bouchard, that means he has produced more. I'm going to exclude Hughes. I think Hughes has had more of an offensive role earlier. That would mean he's produced more than like almost the entire rest of the top 10, right?
So Hughes is pretty close. He's number 3, technically 3. Production wise, I would say that Dahlin's still probably better. I'd put him at number 4 in that draft. So in terms of points, I'll go straight points. Number 1 is Andrei Svechnikov with 209 points in 283 games played. Number 2 is Brady Tkachuk with 192 points in 277 games played. Number 3 is Quentin Hughes at 165 points in 205 games. And number 4 is Rasmus Dahlin with 160 points in 277 games played. So,
and Sharangovich, where's his at in the top overall so far?
He's pretty far down. So there's also Joe Farabee, which is just under 100 points. Then there's, let's see, doing some quick maths here. Next one is Noah Dobson with 72 points. Filip Zadina with 61 points. So somewhere in between there would be Sharangovich, because I think he has 70. Yeah, he has 76 points, so he would be just above. So he's probably, what, top 6, 7?
He's top 8.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a 5th rounder. But yeah, when you look at these names, man, a whole lot of nothing out of production, and it has been 4 years now.
That kind of sucks. You know what doesn't suck? Arizona State University's new captain. I thought they did the weird multi-captain system because I remember when I was watching a few years back, like Johnny Walker had a C, someone else had a C. I think Brinson Pasichnuk. I really hope I was corrected, and that's how you say it. I think he also had a C, and then now it's like it showed the three of them, and it's like Donor gets the C, Joshua Doan, future captain of the Arizona Coyotes, and then it was like Kumontes, if my pronunciations aren't terrible, gets an A, and the other A, I recognize his name from last year. It's just slipping my mind. But yeah, Joshua Doan, the royal bloodline of Arizona, is now the captain of Arizona State University. He just needs to go to Tucson and get the C, and I will consider him the Arizona Triple Crown.
Yeah. Do you think he gets the NHLC as well eventually?
I would hope. I want to talk to you briefly if we have like 5 more minutes about the C, unless you want to push it off to next week. But the only problem is just if they end up naming a captain in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And then also if he ends up like just foregoing the AHL, going right to the NHL level.
I think he has the potential.
He's a really good player.
I would like to see Josh stay in the top 6, but if he is a bottom sixer, I do think that he can stick around in the NHL. He has the skills and the work ethic to be a bottom sixer. Obviously, that's not where you want him to be permanently, but could work.
Do you want to talk about that C debate, or you want to push it off to next week?
No, we can absolutely talk about it.
All right, so I saw a lot of fans that want Krauser to get the C.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Lawson Krause, I cannot like put into words how much I vehemently disagree with that. So I want to know where you lean on this, and who do you think, if they were to name a captain this year, like they decided, no, this is our we have most of our core guys, we're going to name a C, who do you think they would? Who do you personally think they should? And then also, what's your opinion on the Krauser debate?
Well, if he didn't want out of Arizona, it would be Jacob Chychrun. Sorry, Chychrun.
Yeah.
He should have been number 1 candidate for the C, but obviously with his disdain for wanting to stick through the rebuild, I don't expect him to stick through the rebuild. Unfortunately, as much as I had my sign that said "Don't trade Jacob Chychrun," change my mind. I am expecting him to probably get traded this year at the deadline at the very least, which is not ideal, but he's going to be gone. So my next up candidate is real tough. I do think that Clayton Keller definitely has the power and leverage to become the captain. I do think that he is pretty vocal in the locker room. He seems like a guy who talks to people. He does all the things off the ice as well that a captain needs to do. Seems like he introduces young players, talks to them, hangs out with them, makes them feel part of the team. I believe that young players have stayed over at his house to bunk with him. Just all the small little things are really important to produce like a really good captain. And I think that he does have that option. Obviously, I think it comes down to Keller versus Krause. Obviously, being the two longest contracts on this team. Next up would be Schmaltz, but I don't believe that he's really captain material. I think he's kind of his own kind of go with the flow kind of guy. I don't really see him as a like vocal leader. Man, it's tough because I think if you're looking at off ice, like respect, I think Clayton Keller is the better captain. But if you're looking at that that on ice, like demands you to be the best player possible, I think Lawson Krause is probably the captain. So it really comes down to the coach's decision on what he would want out of his team. For me, I really like Clayton Keller, but I believe that Krause could be a good captain, and I'm gonna go with Lawson Krause.
All right, so at least that
Changed my mind.
kind of explains it. At least that kind of explains it a little better, because like I just as soon as someone says Krauser, I'm like, look, nothing against Krauser. I love Lawson Krause. I just disagree. And even like with that, I'm like, I still don't necessarily know. It's like, yeah, on ice, that kind of like commanding respect. I could see from the perspective of like a Keith Kachuk light. Obviously, not the same caliber of player. He's not the guy that's going to close the locker room doors in the second intermission and scream and throw chairs around the locker room.
Yeah.
And the guys are going to be coming out in the third period as if everyone just did a bump because their captain's about to put a hockey stick in their behind. So I don't think Lawson Krause is that kind of guy. We talk about Kells. Obviously, I can only speak of when I have met him or when I've seen him like speak publicly. He doesn't really have like that commanding presence or that like natural leadership ability visibly that like Donor had. I think even Ollie developed a pretty good amount of that, even though he was still acquired a guy throughout his entire tenure in Arizona. He also shares in common with Ollie about a lot of the community stuff he does, really good stuff. And I can't speak. A lot of the times athletes are a lot more comfortable in the locker room with the boys. So I have no idea if he's speaking up more in the locker room. I can't speak to that. But when it comes to the perspective of on-ice talent as well as effort and ability, because I heavily respect the two-way ability he's developed, how his pass is still phenomenal, how he's finishing very well, and how he almost seems to just take control on the ice without having to yell. It doesn't kind of like give anyone dirty looks that I can see. He just goes out there, does it, and it just kind of, it looks like it comes naturally, or at least it's been developing into where it comes from a natural place. Yeah. On top of that, he's a lightning rod for younger players. Look at Logan Cooley, how he specifically mentioned Keller, and he's like, he really likes Keller's game. I can't speak to dozens and dozens of other prospects, but to me, considering the fact that Cooley is probably the Coyotes' most important draft selection, since you could probably argue like the Kyle Turris, Peter Mueller era. Yeah, like definitely how big this is. Yep. I think that just from the perspective of like what he means to the team, how he's kind of turning into the Doan light, like you think of the Coyotes, you think of Keller now. Like you used to think of Doan, you used to think of OEL, especially when they were going through that last rebuild. That's kind of the only face that was familiar. So it's like all of those are the reasons why I would give Keller the C. I can't speak to how he is like leadership wise in the locker room. I can imagine it's got to at least be decent. Yeah. But that's why I would lean Keller. With that compliment, being out there, my honest opinion being known, the next Coyotes captain, I don't personally see on the roster yet. Okay. I know it's a bit of a meme, but it's like I seriously see a lot of Shane in Josh. I see a lot of those characteristics. Even a guy like
just say Matthias Michelli. Don't be around this year.
Actually, I wasn't thinking Michelli. For some reason, I know. My brain was going to Maverick with the like the work ethic, and if they already signed him to a contract, like I was talking about in my most recent video on the topic, where I'm like, they have to see something that we haven't seen, and just the hard work, how he made himself one of the higher valued performers in the combine. Maybe they're looking at a guy like that. He
wasn't a higher performer. He was the highest performer. I just want to point that out. Maverick Lamoureux, and this isn't subjective. This isn't how you feel about it. This is statistics. This is pure statistics. He was number 1 in the combine. So just put that out there.
So I'm just saying it's entirely possible you're looking at some of the guys coming up in the pipeline. They might even be looking at like Cooley and Gunner and seeing how like they develop. So I'm just saying it's entirely possible one of the next captain might be, okay, we're gonna, lack of a better term, Maverick, he has these qualities, we're gonna groom him to become the next captain. Donor has these qualities like his dad, we're gonna see if they continue to develop. Cooley. Gunner have these really high offensive ceilings. How is that leadership going to come along with it? We're going to wait a little bit. So that's where I'm leaning. However, I also would not be surprised if they came out tomorrow, Clayton Keller is the next captain.
Yeah. I'm just going to say it would be kind of hilarious that a Doan held on to the captaincy for like 20 years and then another Doan comes in and holds on to the captaincy for a long time. That would be actually kind of funny. Like, oh, what, the Coyotes only have like Doan as their captain? Like, ha ha ha. You know, it's like, well, I guess so. That could be a thing. The other guy who I have on that list would be one Toronto Maple Leafs boy, Austin Matthews.
Oh, God. You mean the butt cheek man himself?
Yes.
Come on down, mustache.
He could be a captain if he decides to come play for us.
That would just be him saying, hey, I'm signing a contract. Yes, Mr. Matthews, all right? Here's a blank check. Fill it out. And he's going to look at it. He's going to be like, taxes are lower here, so I'll take 10.5. And I'm the captain, and I want these guys as my line mates. And if your coach gets on my nerves, we're getting a new one.
So I went back and looked at the 2016 draft, which is the draft that Clayton Keller and I believe Chicken was drafted. Yes, Chicken was drafted. Dude, number 5, Oliu Levy for Vancouver, only 41 games played, 3 points. Who's next on that list? Matthew Tkachuk, 431 games played, 382 points. I think Vancouver fans were screaming when that draft pick happened. Oh my goodness.
Why'd you have to do it to the I like to think there's one optimistic Vancouver boy that's like, you know what, these Arizona guys, they ain't so bad, and then now like he wants to find our address now that you just said that.
Well, I would want to find the address of the general manager. I know that they didn't like him for all of his free agent signings, which we graciously picked up last year. Yeah, man, that's a rough pick. Oh goodness, that's
Where did Kells go that year? Was it 7 or was it
7.
a little lower?
Yeah,
7.
Yeah. So it was Ulevi at 5, Matthews or Tkachuk at 6, and then Keller at 7.
Dude, both Tkachuks, we were literally
one pick away.
2 picks away.
I know. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Clayton Keller, but if we had Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk, and we minus Keller and Hayton, and this team looks completely different. It looks
again, love Kells. This would be like you would have Walt Jr. on line 1 and Walt Jr. on line 2.
Yep.
I'm just saying, look.
Or
right
you could
now,
just be the Hanson brothers and just have them run around smashing people on the same line, like.
I'll go ahead and I'll put this out on Twitter, and we'll talk about the results next week. All right, who would you rather have? Like, what would you do this right now? It's a straight 2 for 2. Let's just pretend that everyone's on the same team. Keller and Hayton for Matthew and Brady Tkachuk. Are you saying yes to that right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can love Clayton Keller's game.
Yeah.
I can think he's captain material. I can love all the little things he does. I can respect the hell out of everything he's turning into and becoming.
Yeah.
No disrespect, Clayton, if you ever watch, and also if you ever end up appearing on our podcast one day, love ya.
Yep.
I would take Matthew and Brady in a heartbeat, and I would have no regrets. I apologize.
No, I wouldn't either. I do think that Clayton Keller is a great fit for the team. It's just, man, when you look at those 2 assets, that is insane. That is insane that people passed up on those assets. It's crazy to me.
You know what's worse? Maybe you can confirm it, but I was hearing both times that the Coyotes management was relieved that the Tkachuks were off the board because they didn't want them.
I've heard mixed reports. I've heard that to be true as well. I've heard something like that. I've also heard that they were high on Brady Tkachuk. I don't know about Matthew Tkachuk, but I did hear that they were high on Brady Tkachuk. So I think they did want to pick Brady. I don't think they wanted to pick Matthew.
Because all I know is I was hearing Like, no, I was talking to my brother-in-law right around when those drafts are like right around both those drafts. I'm like, if Kachuk's there, Coyotes need to take him. And then I was hearing after the fact, I think it was a little bit after the Brady Kachuk draft, so they were talking about both of them. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the source, so the sources do trust me because it's just something that I remember hearing. That it was like, oh, you know, I think it was Chaika. Chaika was relieved because he didn't want to pick Brady, and he didn't want the fans to get angry that they had the opportunity to take a Kachuk and chose not to.
Yeah. It's almost like the fans know better or something.
It's almost like the fans will show up and look again for how great Keller is for this market and how like almost everyone has a number 9 jersey at this point. You're telling me right now they wouldn't have given him 19. You wouldn't have the boys wearing 19, and maybe one of them gets to wear 7, maybe not. But there would be 2 different number Kachuk jerseys in the stands a year after they're both on the team, not counting the Keith Kachuk jerseys that are still in the stands.
Man, that would have been funny if they both came here and then they had to battle over the number 7. Like that would have been excellent content if the Coyotes like had that happen and then you just like record it and it's like a shootout or something, like a competition for who gets number 7.
I think Matthew would have got it by default because he was like what 3 or 4 years drafted ahead, or at least a couple years drafted ahead.
Yeah, he was two years ahead.
And then Brady would have probably been like, "Nah, it's fine. I'll just chug a beer or something."
Yeah, I don't know.
Bro, Kachuk Brothers beer chugging competition. See who gets number 7.
Oh God.
Actually, my money might be on Matthew on that one. It just. No, Brady. Wait.
Yeah, I was like, you mean Brady?
Which is the one that was in the stands in the playoffs?
Yeah.
That was Brady. My money's on Brady.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. That's crazy to think about. Crazy. Yeah, that's...
You know what else is crazy?
What's that?
The fact that we are at the end of our 23rd episode. Man!
Yeah.
I feel like it was only yesterday I texted you, telling you about how big sad I was and how, I want someone to do a podcast with me. And now you've been doing it for 23 amazing weeks.
Amazing, air quotes. No, yeah, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. I'm just looking through draft picks now. But yes, it's been a good time. We're a little dry on content as we're hitting the apex of the boring off season, but we BS around to get there. So
I feel like we made the most of our topics.
Yeah.
Hell, the captain topic came out of nowhere, and I was like, yes, that's actually a good topic.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess instead of just sitting here, keep scrolling through draft picks, I'm going to call this episode to a close. Meeting adjourned. Yeah. Anyways, if you liked this podcast, if you could give us a like, a follow, a subscription on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Yeah, that's it. Episode 23 in the bag. See you later.
Go away. I'm going to go annoy the puppy.